It's Wednesday, that means it's a DeFi review day. Let's take a look at some DeFi charts. Gonna start with Ethereum, which is having a strong showing over the past couple days, breaking out of an ambiguous football-shaped M double top slash flag pennant. I don't know. I don't know what it was. I didn't really have a bias either way. I wanted down because Kijun was down here. I wanted to buy lower. That would have been the most comfortable trade. But trend said, nope, you're wrong, and we kept going. So not only did we break the high of the football, but we broke the higher high of yesterday. So big definitive move here. You'll still probably get a retrace. You know, like me, I didn't get in as big as I wanted to. In general, on-chain stuff's way down, but it doesn't matter because we're burning so much gas because fees are so high. And DeFi is kind of taking a hit from that as well. There's this weird give and take between pricing people out of DeFi and burning fees, while at the same time looking at the DeFi numbers and seeing that it's mostly institutional players trading DeFi as a percentage and very little retail volume. So I don't know what to think. There's sort of stuff all over the place, but I just go to this and say, okay, TA is bullish. We broke highs. We broke range highs. Cloud is flipping bullish for the first time since we broke down. And it's pretty much go time at this point. You know, like I already said, you're going to get a pullback eventually. Maybe to 3K at this point, whatever the flat Kumo is here. Kijun's going to get pulled up over time. But any ambivalence I had about trend is over once the cloud flips bullish. Its chance to break down was here, and that did not happen. So as ETH gets bullish, DeFi typically gets bullish as well, and we're seeing that on the DeFi perp in a lot of these DeFi charts. This was the range sort of established in February to May. So we W'd below that range, broke back up into the range, currently at the range high with a bullish 5200 cross above VPVR volume area. Volume slowly ramping back up here over the past few weeks on the DeFi perp. So even though this is up significantly from the bottom, it still looks fine for bullish continuation. You know, I wouldn't expect January type moves here, but either reconsolidation between 10 and 12K or just continuation slow over the next weeks to months certainly looks fine to me. And then a reevaluation into Q1 when alts tend to be weak, when people tend to take profit for tax purposes. But for the most part, all these charts look really good. And just comparing ETH to the DeFi perp's going to get a bullish Kumo twist here over the next couple days as well, most likely. So even though it's significantly higher than the Kijun at this point, trend still looks really good. And there is a beginnings of a bearish divergence, but until you establish an actual high, you can't say that it is a bearish divergence. You can just say, if this is the high, then this will be a bearish divergence, but you got to give it time to breathe. Just be mindful that there is a starting bear div here, but it's, you know, this thing, like it cruised in January, February, it can just stay overbought for a significant period of time. Comp has pulled up back to the horizontal resistance level. Looks like to me this pattern, whatever murky mess this has become, still looks fine for 650, 750, somewhere in there. Volume's slowly coming back, but what you're going to want to see here is a break of the horizontal with a big volume candle. Just basic stuff here. Maybe you could argue ascending triangle at this point. I don't know, but looks fine to me. Just be patient with that one. That's what I'm doing. SNX, same story. Adam and Eve, ascending triangle, 5200 bull cross, all that is in the cards here. Volume hopefully coming back soon. And RSI's not even close to overbought yet. So I really like 17 to 20 still for this thing. And that's why we've rotated more into SNX and comp and out of a few other things in the ETHI fund, DeFi fund on Enzyme. Maker is kind of like how a lot of these other charts look, where they're not showing immediate potential for breaking a horizontal. They're just showing probable bullish continuation. Trend is bullish, you know, looks fine. Doesn't look like it's going to be mega exciting anytime soon, but there's no risk for imminent doom, imminent reversal, bearish trend, right? Everything looks fine here. For Maker, same with Aave. Looks fine. It's at a horizontal resistance potentially at 435, but overall looks okay for continuation. And if this thing's crazy enough to get back into the pitchfork, it's easily 4 digits at the midline here, and that's over 2x really from here. Maybe let's call it 1200. Let's call it a 3x from here is potentially what could happen if this gets back into the previous rate of change. Not going to hold out for that one, but that's just like remote possibility if this thing catches a bid again, as the kids say. UniUSD, again, same thing, just quietly moving up. Nothing super exciting. I don't expect anything explosive here. Trend is bullish above volume levels it needs to be above. Sort of back into the previous range. Looks fine here at 30. Probably sees all-time highs, in the next 4 months. Just with a baseline bullish trend. Sushi, same thing. Bullish above cloud, above where it needs to be above on the EMAs. Tons of volume resistance here between 14 and 16. So it's going to have probably a heck of a time getting through that. But once it does, I like 20 plus, just no brainer. Once all this stuff is bullish, just going to very likely keep quietly moving up. Curve, again, unexciting, bullish, just baseline at like 250 plus 3 something, basically previous accumulation area around $3. Looks good to me. Not anything explosive or super exciting there. Bell above the cloud, pending 5200 bull cross, above volume stuff. It very well could, not saying this will happen, but it could fill the gap from 30 to 50. Anytime you see big spikes up or big spikes down in crypto, there aren't any gaps in like there are in traditional markets because things never close, but you can think of those areas as gaps if there aren't any their volume stuff or anything going on here. If it was just one big liquidation, it's easier to get through that level than say sushi, where it has tons of volume resistance in that level. This is the opposite of that, where there just isn't a lot of activity in that area on VPVR. So if we get to that level, it probably won't act as resistance. That's one way to think about it, one possibility. So nondescript bullishness. BNT looks like it's had heavy consolidation for pending bullish moves above cloud, 5200 bull cross. All these basically look the same, different flavors of the same chart. Not yet overbought on RSI, so this looks fine for continuation, probably to 556, somewhere around there. ZRX, same thing. Bull cross, all these crosses, by the way, on the 12-hour, cloud on the 12-hour. I just think, for the most part, DeFi moves so quickly, you do have to kind of move down the time frames, move down the metrics a little bit, because if you're waiting, you're going to be missing out probably on a lot of this stuff, unless you know what you're looking for on the daily. On the daily, this just looks like an edge-to-edge, right? All these look like edge-to-edge trades on the daily through the cloud, but this looks fine for 150, something like that. 1 inch, this was my schematic that I drew the other day. A possible thing here is this bursts through previous range, gets denied at 5, and then retests the range low, and then retests the range high. Something like that is possible, but 5 should act as resistance. And it looks like 3 or 320 currently potentially support. 5200 bull cross happening here above the cloud. Looks fine for nondescript, non-specific bullish stuff. Melon doesn't really look like anything else, but it does look bullish. You can't deny ascending triangle vibes here. Repeated attempts to break this 120 level, again attempted a couple days ago. This is a thinly traded coin. It has a small market cap, partially why it looks the way it looks on the price chart. But as long as this floor, as long as this resistance or support can hold rather, then I like all-time highs easily. Eventually this thing's very likely to break 130 in a definitive way. Above volume resistance, bullish 5200 cross looks good to me for continuation. Link looks good to me to potentially return to the midline here. Probably 70 by the time it gets there. It survived the potential death below the pitchfork, but it's slowly getting back into its previous rate of change. Again, not exciting, not too flashy, but if you're holding it like we are on the Enzyme Fund, I don't think it's anything to worry about. Maybe you could argue cup and handle here, even though positioning on the price at the bottom of a trend, it doesn't make sense as a cup and handle, but you could argue that. That's fine. In any case, I like continuation there. Band looks fine. You know, looks like everything else. 50 to 200 cross above volume resistance. Potential move to 14. AVAX and Solana don't look like anything else in that they've moved big over the past couple weeks here. AVAX RSI hit infinity and unsurprisingly pulled back from there. I still like 34, 35, 30, you know, anything down at this volume level, basically the previous range, should act as support. This very well could, some like falling wedge down to 30 and then just like explode from there. I don't know. It's also possible that this is just done and people are rotating back into ETH or other stuff rotating back into DeFi. All these projects, ADA included, they're trying to get on the NFT bandwagon, trying to get on the smart contract bandwagon. They're seeing what's working for ETH with NFTs, and they're just trying to say, look at us over here. We can do this too. Come FOMO lottery ticket over here. So that's certainly helping things like AVAX and Solana, which hit its 2618 fib extension from the high to low. You know, this isn't for me when charts look like this. If I missed anything down here or the Kuma breakout on the daily or the 200 touches, you know, I just sit this one out. Definite bear div attempt here, and the Kijun pullback is somewhere around 75. So that's just a no-go for me. Not at risk for imminent reversal, but just looks a little too overextended for me relative to everything else. So in general, stuff looks really good across the board for DeFi. Let me just mention the ETHBTC fund and DeFi portfolio that I trade for Techemy Capital on Enzyme.Finance, non-custodial portfolio management tool, where you can send ETH or USDC or just watch what I'm doing. You can see everything, including AUM performance, all the allocations of the DeFi stuff. You can see when I make these trades for how much, what I'm rotating into, out of, what I'm doing. If you're ever wondering why things look weird on the trade side of things, it's because I can't get direct trades. I don't know how many people actually look at this stuff, but for instance, what I'd like to do when I'm rotating out of something and into something else is just a direct trade from some vault to another vault, right? But that generally isn't available. So I have to redeem from the vault and then swap and then go back into the vault, right? That's what this whole shenanigans is about. And even on the ETHBTC fund, I have to, you know, redeem the vault, swap it, hope that the trade goes through, that ETH doesn't reject the transaction like it did last night, hope that I have enough liquidity for that amount of ETH, right? Like for the fund as a percentage, that isn't that much, but when things are moving, the liquidity just dries up. So I sometimes just have to eat that differential. It's not like I want to do it. It's just, if I want to be in, that's what I have to do. So anyway, if you have any questions about any of that stuff, you know, you can just ask me in the YouTube comments or just ping me on Twitter. That's all for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.